Okay, so I'm about to set this up. I usually use a hoop like this, and the part with the lip stays close to the shirt, and the other part of it will loop over it. So I'm going to go ahead and slip this on in. And then I want to bring it down a bit, probably about 3 or 4 fingers down, so it'll stay on the chest. And the hoop needs to be opened up a bit so that it can fall down over the lip. Okay, and now it's under the lip, making sure it's centered. I usually keep this part of it down below, like right up, right at the top, so I know where the top is and kind of centered. And then I tighten it down a little bit, and then I will move the shirt and pull the shirt just enough so I have like resistance. One of the biggest things that people mess up on is they don't grip. They don't have something or a surface that grips their shirt. See, this is really too loose. If your shirt's not tight enough, it's going to snag your pencil, and your pencil won't glide across the shirt. Okay, so let's see where we are. I'm hoping that's not too far down. Actually, the shirt might be a good size. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So when you're creating a character, like your own original character, and you're drawing it up, give your character reasons to why they have what they have, the reasons to why they look the way they look. Because it's going to come up. It's like, well, did you just design this character just to look cool, or did you design this because this is the way, this is the way it is? Well, with this kid's superpower, let's see. All right. Okay. So pretty much the center of the shirt is where I'm aiming for. You really want to have a nice flat surface to spread the shirt out on, to make sure you have a nice flat surface there. Let's see. Okay. Now I'm trying to decide how big I want the image to be. Is this just going to be his face and then the rest is going to be his body? Or, let's see, I think I'll make this the face, and then I'll bring it down a little bit for the body. Okay, any pencil should work, except, you want to stay like HB and higher. The higher the pencil, like if you're using, let's see, a darker pencil like a B pencil, 2B is good, 8B is good. It's going to be dark enough so you can see the lines, and this will wash out. After a few washes, it'll fade. But when you have enough color on it, it's not going to make much of a difference. Okay, so I'm going to redraw my character. I usually start off with a round circle. Okay, and I'll bring him out here so I can see him. Now I haven't given the character a real proper name. He wasn't just born Firefist or whatever we want to call him. Big eyes, big expressive eyes. And you want to take it slow. If you don't want to ruin your shirts and stuff like that, draw slowly so you don't mess things up. You could be more particular on where your lines are going to go. Let's see, so about at the base of the eye here, I'm going to throw out a curve, and then I'm going to bring his nostril up, and then the rest is all going to be mouth. And maybe a little bit of chin. And you see how the pencil's just gliding across. What I also have under here is a cardboard in the shape of this hoop, so that I can go ahead and and I have something against it to draw. Okay, let me go ahead and throw his eyebrows on. Now, if you mess up, you can't always erase. So you want to be very careful on how you draw on your shirts. The pencils, or rather the markers that I'm going to be using, are permanent. So I have to be very particular on where I want things to go. And I got to be very careful not to drop my markers. Sometimes I used to drop my markers and I'd end up marking up my shirts that I'm wearing and I'd have a permanent mark on it. Just got to be very mindful when you're working with fabric markers. Okay, so I'm just repositioning the drawing so I can see it a little bit better. One eye's a little bit bigger than the other. Like this one here that's closer to the edge of the face is a little bit, it's turned away from us. And this one is turning away from us, but we'll see more of it. Okay, draw lightly. That way it'll come out in a few washes rather than, especially if you put this into your wearing rotation, it'll these lines will come out faster. Okay, and he is all. We'll throw some teeth down here. Okay, and then he's all mouth. We'll give him a bit of his bottom lip there. And if his mouth looks a little twisted, all the better. I mean, when you're screaming, you're not paying attention to how your mouth is looking. You're letting it loose. Let's see. Also, when you draw on a t-shirt, make sure it's big, you know, because it's like your markers can only give detail, or rather your detail will start to diminish because of, depending on the type of shirt that you have. Like this one has a small weave, it's not too bad, but sometimes depending on the type of shirt, sometimes details get muddy, and it's good to work big. There we go. So there we go. We got that going on. We got his. I made his chin a little bit more narrow than I meant to, but that's okay. Ready? His little thin neck. And let's see. I'll have his shoulders be more square. Okay. I'm going to have to reposition this a couple times. Let's see. So I can get everything in here. And if you wanted to trace it, what I would do is I'd make sure that you take your drawing out and you put it underneath. Pull your shirt relatively tight, but not too tight, because once you pull it out, you know, and you stretch it out, it'll be distorted. And when you bring it back in, it'll be narrow and it won't look right. So don't pull too much when you give yourself some tension. Okay, so let me go ahead and outline. I just bought a new marker for especially for shirts. It's a Pentel, let's see, it's called a Pentel gel roller for fabrics. Let's see if I remember where I put it. Here it is. It's really super thin. This one here is, it says it's no smudge, no smear, waterproof pigment ink, and it's a 0.1 millimeter. And when it comes out, it is black. And I used it on this mermaid here because I had messed up this anchor here. It was too far in, and because of the way it was sitting. So I went through and I used the that gel roll pen, this pen right here, and it looks amazing. That line is black. And this is canvas. This is a little bit thicker, a little bit more rugged than t-shirts. So that's another thing to keep in mind, the fabric that you're drawing on. This here, if you draw big, you can get some really good details into it. If you draw small, it gets really muddy. Like I can't see, this is what I mean by the details. Like you can get really into that eye, and then you can see some of the lines here, but this is relatively big. If I left it small, it makes it really difficult. So anyway, moving forward. Alrighty. So I start up here, and you can start anywhere you want. And just keep in mind, this is permanent. You want to keep your pen moving, that way it doesn't bleed outside your lines. I like to have my lines a little thicker. Now I usually go ahead and outline the whole thing, and then I color, and then I go back through and outline again, because sometimes the colors get over the dark line and they make it, you know, hard to see. Nice expressive eyebrows. He is hollering. I could probably have made his mouth even bigger. Bring that line down a little further. Give him some back teeth. His bottom lip. Okay. Another thing to be careful of is going back over your lines that you just made. They will smear, especially if it hasn't dried fast enough. So just be careful about where you're putting your hands when you color or when you draw. So if I was drawing some follow-up characters for this character's world, I would have different shaped heads, different heights, different widths. I want to be able to distinguish between the characters. This part right here is going to be a lighter brown than the top part here. Or I could have him have red eyes. I mean, he's pretty upset. Now I'm making his hairline kind of jagged and swirly because he's got thick curly hair. It just happens to be on fire. Let's see. Okay, and we'll throw his other ear here. This eye should have been down a little bit lower. That's okay. I'll bring that to close, and right beneath his teeth, I'm going to make it darker. All right. I'm going to make these lines just a little thicker. All right. Now I like having different line weights, which is like wherever it's more on the bottom, that line is thicker than the lines that are up on top. So you can darken in anything that is kind of overlapping. Anything that might be able to cast a shadow. And anything that's on the bottom. So like maybe the bottom of his eyebrows are thicker than the top. And that'll give them a little bit more weight. It adds weight to whatever you're doing. Throw a little bit of that. Give him some eyelashes. Okay. And I'll darken in the lower lid just a bit. Just gotta wash my hands. All right. Okay, so far I've got him screaming, and I'm going to let this dry because it doesn't say how long it takes for it to dry. So let me go ahead and do that.